right. Well, welcome everyone back to the third episode of the Artisan Church All-Inclusive Podcast. My name is Josephus.
And I'm Conley, the pastor at Artisan Church, and so glad to be with you all today again. Already episode 3. Can't believe it.
Episode 3. I mean, it's almost, obviously we have a nice new setup here. We're going to be working through some things, so bear with us. But, I mean, I like the new digs.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I like changing it up. I like variety.
Yes.
So even if this is not the last setup, I'll be happy.
This is probably not the last setup.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about missions.
Missions. Yeah.
I feel like somebody has something to share on missions.
Well, yes. I just came back from a mission trip a little over a month ago, and
just a little place.
Just a little place. A little place.
On a small continent.
Yeah, so I went to Malawi, Africa, and it has been a life-changing event to really go and see a very different country and people, and see how God's working over there. It's had a big impact on me, and we recently talked about missions a lot in worship as well. So I think this is a good topic. It kind of gets to the heart of why we're even gathering as a community of faith, and why, even further down the road, why would we do a podcast? Why would we create stuff to talk about God things? It's all kind of connected to missions. So,
right, I like that. It's kind of hard to follow. I mean, do missions? Do you think missions need to be as extravagant as going to Africa?
Oh, well, I think...
Because typically when you hear about missions, sorry to cut you off.
No.
Typically when you hear about missions, like a lot of times it is some extravagant location that is, maybe less fortunate than the one you come from. And,
right.
It's this big, but do you feel like that is what makes, can you go on a mission in your own city?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think that's the answer. I think the word missions has a lot of things that come to mind when you think about that, and a lot of times it is like international missions, like a missionary who goes and dedicates their life and they change their whole location to be in a place to do a certain thing. But church missions happen everywhere, all over the place. So I think of the church as, you think about church, well, we gather together, we get together in a place, and we have worship on Sundays. That's a pretty typical pattern. And then missions would be what we do when we go out from that building, that time when we gather. But really, even today, I think it happens even in the building, because we are connected to the whole world. So when we're streaming, I would say you could call that missions. When we're connecting, even with this kind of operation, we're in our church space, but the goal is to be projecting it out into the world. So it's reaching anybody who's outside of our faith community.
That's actually something that I was wanting to get at, is whether or not we could consider this a mission, because it's technically like an outreach in its own, vehicle. Like you can,
I think absolutely it is, if it sticks to the goal of what the purpose is. So many things get called missions. I did a little research and looked up what some topics and different types of short-term mission activities, and there was everything you can imagine, from art camps to like agriculture, prison ministry. I've got
that's an interesting one.
Human trafficking mission trips. There's medical mission trips, sports related mission trips,
virtual,
construction kind of things, or maybe when you're building wells, or to help public health type stuff. Just anything you can imagine could be done as a mission, as a goal to create this space to talk about God. So yeah, so we know what missions are, and a lot of things, and we know where they can happen, but the most interesting thing that we might be able to talk about today is how we do missions in our everyday context. Like, what does it look like just in our day-to-day life to do missions? And when we talked about it in church, we shared about the root, the ultimate goal comes from this thing called the Great Commission, where Jesus, after he is resurrected, before he leaves his disciples, he tells them to go forth and make disciples. He tells them to baptize them, and then he tells them to teach people to follow his commands. And so,
where do you think missions come from? As far as like, where's the drive to go? Why Malawi?
Why Malawi?
Yeah, like what do you think drives a particular church or a particular group to go on a specific mission? I mean, you got to think there's people who need help all over the place. Why choose any particular destination? Like, do you know anything about the process on what makes a committee like select a particular location for?
I think the Malawi partnership and Malawi mission connection came through a personal relationship. So it began with someone who made a connection and ended up going and living in Malawi, someone who from North Carolina went to live in North Carolina to be a doctor, specifically a pediatrician. And it was, in this case, it was Dr. Barbara Nagy who started making these connections, and it just created opportunities. So we saw
Dr. Nagy.
Shout out to Dr. Nagy. So she was there and started relaying the needs and the different ways that people over here could help over there. So that's how our church organization got connected, and ultimately how I got connected to go 20 years later into this relationship. So I think it happens where opportunities come up in your life or in the course of your relationships.
Do you think I'm just trying to think from like a different perspective. I mean, I like, it's awesome, the idea. Do you think people perceive it as like more of a you kind of just pick and choose where you go based off of experiences, and it's more of a personal relation thing? The reason I ask it like that is because I think one of the things when you speak about missions that comes up, especially from those who are still finding their spiritual walk with God, is but what about the people here? What about the communities here? Like, you see them here. And I'm not saying that I'm in that same boat. I'm just like, how'd you say it the first episode? I'm playing devil's advocate.
Right. Yeah.
Like, where's the balance? Where do we strike the balance when we have, that kind of mindset? Like,
well, if we look at what the Bible says, Jesus says, go to all nations. So go all over. I think that includes our nation, includes our county, city, our context, like the people that we interact with. Those are all included. So where's the balance between, we have lots of needs here, why should we help people over there? We're all God's children ultimately. So everybody needs to know the good news of Jesus, and ultimately that part about teaching Jesus' commands means that we live it out. It means that we love one another. It means that we are generous, that we invite in the outsider, the outcast, and on down the list. Honoring your parents and loving children, and so all of these things that Jesus showed us in his life and commanded us to do by example or actual scriptural words. Like, when we do those things, we are missionaries, I guess you could say.
I think that's a really good way to answer it. I always, like, when I think about it, I always just related it to you have something bad or something that's not right happening here, or, people need help here.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously there's people that need help here. You kind of just go where the need for help is, greater. I mean, if your neighbor's house is on fire and your cat's stuck in a tree, don't be surprised when the fire department shows up to the fire first. That kind of, it's not saying that your need isn't, as adequate. It's just like, we got to try to help where we can. I think like, and I guess that's where I was going with that, is like to see if that was the motivation or, the answer towards why we choose to go places that people feel like, well, why don't we do more here?
Yeah.
So I like that.
And I think, there's different types of mission trips as well. They aren't always helping necessarily a physical need. Sometimes it's about building relationships or about encouraging other people who are doing mission work, I guess, be another way to do that. But in the big picture of missions, we can work towards the goal of going and telling, just in our everyday interactions. I think it can happen anytime that we are presented with an opportunity, and it might be to help somebody else. It might be able to get a cat out of a tree, but showing God's love to other people makes a space for us to talk about God's love and to say, hey, thank you, God, for putting me in this spot. And, thank you for just the opportunity to connect with someone else. And then maybe there's a chance for a conversation. Like, why would you do this? Why would you want to help me? Well, because Jesus would, and I'm following after Jesus. So
missions can just be going to fellowship on a different continent.
It could happen there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or going to fellowship at your local watering hole. It could happen there too.
That's a dated term.
Yeah.
Watering hole.
Well, I am old.
Oh man. All right. So we know why and what, where, how do we accomplish missions in our everyday context? Like what?
Yeah, I think there are these moments that come up in our lives where we're usually presented with another person or an opportunity, and it's time sensitive. So like we have a chance to either respond, we step into it, or we can let it go by. It might be like when you're driving by and you see someone who's kind of begging for change on the street corner. I mean, that light's going to change eventually, and then you can go on it, and then it's in the rear view. Or that person that you're standing next to in the checkout line. Those stranger encounters where you could create a space to just talk about what's important, or someone's asking for help and you step in or not. I think those are the opportunities to do what we call mission, quote, at home and in our relationships. What do you think
about how we do it every day?
Yeah.
I think for me, the real mission is to not make everything a mission. I mean, I think sometimes just letting things be can actually be the mission. Like it could be your mission to not try to fix everything. And this is just a personal thing, because I see something broke and I want to fix it, or in my perspective, it's broke, but maybe it's working as intended. But I think there's always, a opportunity to share, God's love and, his message.
Or maybe it just flows out of the way that you are.
Right.
And not like, okay, I'm on a mission. I need to checklist. I got to help 3 people today or something.
Right. No, that's what. Yeah, and I think sometimes, that's I guess what I meant by that is through experience. You kind of learn. you kind of learn the moments when to speak and when to kind of just let things, somebody's going through something. They just had a very tragic incident. They might not be as receptive to a mission statement, so to speak, as far as like they need some time to process.
And good, you made me think of another good point. Not everyone has the gift to go and speak to other people. I mean,
Right.
we talk about God's stuff, but that's not everyone's gift. And so doing missions might look like, I knit. And so I'm going to make little caps to cover babies' heads. And I'm going to give those. Baby octopuses.
That your 1-year-old cannot live without. And if you lose it, it is World War VIII.
Wow.
I might be speaking from personal experience.
Are you sharing a mission opportunity? Can I help you with this octopus search?
No, we found it.
Oh, okay.
He has 3 of them, but I guess he's not
got some backups.
He's not colorblind anymore, so he understands which color and which one is which.
So we are about to diverge and go down a rabbit trail right now, but we had a beloved little bunny thing with one of our kids, and she loved it so much that we got an extra one. And so we thought, if we lose it or whatever, we leave it at the store or whatever, we'll have this backup. And she actually found it before we lost the other one, and now she needs 2. And so she's we total backfire on the multiple stuffed animal trick. But
this actually happened to be a gift from my friend, and actually his wife made it. And,
that's hard to replace.
Right. And so we actually told her the first time we kind of lost the first one, or it got misplaced.
Yeah.
And she took it upon herself to knit 2 more and send them as backups.
Well, that's nice. That's really nice.
Let's just say that 4 is a very keen person on what things look like, or the feel of something, the scent of something.
Very particular person.
Yes, he
likes things just a certain way.
Pays attention to detail as well.
Oh, yeah. I wonder where he gets
so
that.
Detail oriented, and you can't get one over on him.
Yeah. So your friend was clearly, she feels good about giving some.
Oh, yes.
And so she's using her gifts to share with a friend, and
she totally says she does not want kids herself, so this is her
thing, and she's showing God's love.
And I mean
whether I'm putting words in her mouth.
Oh no,
I don't even know who she is, but yeah. But so that's an example of how you might be following Jesus' command to go and tell, is to make something and give it away, or to, just whatever your gifts are. Maybe you like to make podcasts, and so you make a podcast as a gift to God, and somewhere in there you point to God, and it's a beautiful thing.
This guy.
I need more examples. So.
Oh yeah, no. Maybe you like to make photographs of people on walks and give them away.
Yeah, there you go.
Or catchy intros.
Yeah. And then somebody comes along and says, "Why did you do this? Why would you do this unnecessary, act of kindness?" And then,
it opens the door.
It opens the door. Makes that space. Yeah.
It's interesting how many people are surprised or are skeptical nowadays with the idea of just someone doing something nice. I mean, I hate to feel like we've gotten to a point to where that is, a reality, where you can't just do something nice and it just be that.
Yeah.
There's always some ulterior motive.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I think just being nice to love one another is following one of the greatest commandments that we have.
As an example, one of the interesting things is I do some street photography, and a lot of times when I go out in that capacity, it's with the mindset of capturing capturing some cool images, but also sharing, something that I love to do with someone else who might, and not really who might need it, but who might appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, you'll convince somebody or you'll get a candid of somebody and it's, a good photo. They look at it and you can tell they're actually pleased by it. Mm-hmm. But then it's almost like, well, how much is it going to cost? And it's just like, wow, it actually never said it costs anything. It's just a photograph here. You can have it. Just
a gift.
A gift.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe some of our listeners out there might want to share how they use their gifts to do acts of kindness or to do what they feel like God is calling them to do to respond to Jesus' call. And I think maybe that would be really fun to read some.
Oh yeah.
So
how do you think we'd do that?
I don't know.
We could just have a little section at the maybe beginning of the podcast where we do something like that, where we read.
Oh yeah, we could read some responses from listeners.
Yeah. That would encourage you guys to,
Well, we'll put some links in the description or wherever, and we can. We'd love to connect with you.
That'd be cool because there's so many different ways you can, do something.
Yeah, and we're all about creative ways of doing things. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, where's your ideal mission gonna if you could go and do a mission trip anywhere, and we're gonna go back to the more extravagant side of missions.
Okay.
I'm just kind of interested. Where would you like to go serve next?
Where would I like to serve next? I feel like I'm really filled up from my trip to Malawi, so I'm definitely not thinking about my next mission trip too much. But
this isn't a.
I think
hard set. You gotta go if you say it.
Yeah.
It's more so if you could go somewhere and
I think I would go back to Malawi.
Really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think I would go back to Malawi because I've got a better picture of what's going on there. There's lots of needs there, and the people were wonderful, so kind and
how was the food? Caring. Did you eat native or did you eat SpaghettiOs? I know that's actually kind of a thing.
We tried to eat a lot of local fare, so lots of roasted food and they eat this stuff called ensima, which is kind of a cornmeal, kind of like a really thick grits, and so that was a staple.
Is it like a fufu almost?
I don't know about fufu.
Oh, you basically you can eat it with your hand, you can almost ball. It's pasty.
Yeah, kind of like Play-Doh or something.
Yeah,
you definitely eat it with your hands. So yeah, food was good. I think there's things that next time I go, I would have a better idea how we could help long term and help with some economic issues, and deforestation is a concern I have there, and but also I have some relationships there now. I have some friends, so it wouldn't be parachuting in blind. So
I think one thing that also gets lost in transition or translation, I don't know how to say it right now. When you're on a mission, sometimes the mission's on you. It's you're getting something that you didn't know you need, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had that experience?
Oh, every time that I've been on a trip, that is the big takeaway. I go in with the mindset, oh, we're here to help, but honestly, the flip side is a stronger effect where I feel like I've been more affected to see how God's working in people who are in a totally different context, different situation. Maybe they have a whole lot less than I have, and yet they're still full of joy. That just never gets old. Never gets old.
I would like to share a story if I got time.
Well, we did not set up a clock today, so I think we have infinite time. Okay, a 5-minute story.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be shorter than that.
All right.
I was actually out at the Taste of Charlotte recently.
Okay.
And typically when I do, when it's events like that, I will go out and do photography for pay and event style where, I charged $5 or $10 for a photo or whatnot. And, it was one of those things where I was walking down the street and I had a street photography moment that kind of cut off my for pay mind because this was a natural scene that was occurring. And I didn't feel like, this isn't something I want to monetize. This is like a gift. And it was funny because in my mind, I was like, not, well, that doesn't sound awful if I say it that way. I wanted to bless them with the photo because it was so candid and it wasn't, something I felt right monetizing because, I didn't know if they even knew I took the picture. Mm-hmm. And ironically, the two girls that I took the photo of actually noticed me well before I even noticed them. And they started talking to me about, how, like, my aura and how it, like, how it kind of, like,
you were putting out good vibes.
Yeah. Like, okay. They were very comfortable with my approach. And it was just a very cool conversation. But the one thing that one of them said to me was you have a very good heart, and I can see that it's hard for you sometimes to be affirmative on your on your sell, so to speak. Like, be more assertive in the sense of what you're doing is okay, and like it's okay to get paid for it or whatnot. And I have a hard time in business doing that. Like, if I go to sell something, I have a hard time sticking to my price. Yeah. And she didn't know that about me. You know what I mean? Like, we were talking about God that whole, like, we had a nice little segment where we were talking about God. They actually go to a church in Charlotte called Calvary, and they invited me to come out one day, and which I really want to come do.
So they were on their own mission trip.
They were on their own mission. Like, it was one of those things where I thought I was, doing something where I had the inspiration to do something nice for somebody, and they turned around and did way more for me than I feel like I ended up doing for them. Yeah. So it was where the mission kind of reversed onto me because, I needed to hear something that, and it was crazy how the rest of my night went once I kind of listened and had that moment.
Well, that's great.
I had one of my better nights, and I still was able to, give people something that they were like proud to pay for, and it was cool. And so I think that was like an incident where the mission got me. And
I wonder if that's because you were like a little bit more tuned into how God was working just in how you were doing, but also you were aware of like God could work the other way too. I don't know how to put that into words exactly, but just
it was
being attuned or being aware that God is like in this moment because you were tuned into it. Yeah.
And I think that's interesting for that's an interesting perspective on missions is, just because you go on a mission doesn't mean that the mission is about what you think it's about. Sometimes
God has other plans. Yeah. So true. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think that's probably all we have.
About time, man.
Yeah, for today. So thanks for listening, everybody, for tuning in to our podcasts this week. And we will be back again next week with more fun things to talk about.
And thank you for carrying my loss of voice. I had 2 concerts this weekend that really did me in. So.
I kind of knew I needed to step up and do some more talking.
Yeah,
so
you were.
I was channeling.
You were killing it there for me. And sorry if the sound is a little off. But
we'll get you back up.
We appreciate it. We will. We like to invite you to, communicate with us through the comment section. Again, we're going to try to work out a way to where we can kind of bring that into the podcast somehow. And also, if you would like to attend service here at Artisan, we are at
235 East Main Street in Lincolnton. We gather at 9:30 on Sunday mornings, and you can find us online on YouTube and also Facebook. So yeah, love to
The infamous Anderson Building.
The Anderson Building. That's right.
Thank you guys for watching and listening.
Yeah. Thanks. Take care.